This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Tim.
Tim, we're in the same room again.
Wee-hoo.
Wee-hoo. Is that like some kind of old-timey...
No, it's a new thing for 2023. It's what Gen Z kids like myself are saying now.
Oh, okay.
Wee-hoo. It's what we say when we get excited about something.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I'm excited to be in the room with you, Tom. Wee-hoo.
Okay, well, I'll try and keep up with this new 2023 Gen Z slang.
Yeah, and as I do every year, I'll be cluing you into the newest slang for the beginning of the year.
Okay.
In the coming weeks.
And then I'll have until the end of the year to use those words in a sentence.
Exactly, and then you'll be an honorary member of Generation Z.
And I'll no longer be chuggy.
Tom, we don't say chuggy anymore.
What?
Did I tell you I saw a real, early 20s say chuggy at a restaurant?
I think you said it on this podcast, Tim. I can see you're still excited about it.
My mind was blown. It's like, they really... You know what I don't understand, Tom?
What? Well, why she was saying it about you?
No, I as much as I can understand what chuggy means, I definitely understand that it applies to me in every way. And that's fine. Whatever. Embrace it.
You embrace your chugginess.
You know, they're all saying mid.
Yes. I think you brought this up very recently, too.
Mid just means mediocre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They act like they invented this word, like it's like, oh, in English we don't have a word for that. We have a word, and we've been using it for
Yeah, I believe it comes from like weed. That like you would go to a weed dealer
and
they would say
lost generation, if you ask me, Tom.
and they would have three different because like I don't know about most weed dealers, but I'm thinking like a certain type of weed dealer. They're not coming to you like they're running a dispensary. Oh, here are all the different strains. It's like, look, I've got cheap, shitty stuff, mediocre price stuff, and the high price stuff. And that's where mid comes from, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
let me get 20 of mid.
Do you think this show is mid?
I think this show
low.
Is
skunk weed.
Is skunk weed is what do they call it? Ditchweed.
Ditchweed. Hey, every generation has its own name for it.
Yeah. And that's my generation's name for it.
I went to the diner the other day in our hometown.
Mm-hmm. Just to interview locals.
Yeah, what they thought about the 2016 election. Mm-hmm. No, with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
It was a couple days.
And they thought you were on a date?
It was the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Okay.
So I went out to breakfast with my mom and my son, my 1-year-old son, and I pull into the diner parking lot, and it's packed, right? It's a big parking lot. You know the diner I'm talking about. And so I had to park all the way in like the back corner.
Yeah, where the drug deals happen.
And that's exactly what I was like, well, Mom, looks like we have to go park over where the drug deals happen. And she's like, what? And then I was like, do I explain to her that like this is where the weed dealer...
Yeah, it's in the back of the parking lot where the lights don't reach.
It's like the statute of limitations of me. Like that was over 20 years ago. I can tell my mom that now, right? Hey, I used to be a degenerate. I'm not anymore.
Well, not in the same way, at least.
Yeah. How am I a degenerate, Tom?
I'd like to see your search history.
I mean, right now it's just all about this old pope.
Exactly. And that's what makes you a degenerate. I think the statute, especially because it's legal now. I mean, I guess it wasn't legal then.
And I never, Tom, I never bought marijuana in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were in high school, there were
in high school I was nowhere. I had never even smelled. It's like I am with cocaine now. I've never seen cocaine in my life.
I thought you were going to say you've never smelled cocaine.
No, yeah, one time somebody was like, "Hey, can you smell this cocaine and see if it's okay?" And I was like, "Let me take a big
real
whiff."
Big whiff.
No, I maintain never seen cocaine.
I think you've seen cocaine.
Where would I have seen cocaine?
We've been to some wild podcast parties.
Yeah, that's true.
With a veritable ski slope of cocaine set up in the corner.
Yeah. I've accompanied people when they were buying weed, but this was in college,
right.
And then
just as the backup muscle in case the deal went south.
No, just as the guy who'd be like, "Hey, can I get a hit of that later on that night?" And be like, "I was there when you bought it."
Yeah. I was gonna say like. You smoked a lot more weed than I did in college.
For 1 year, and then it gave me panic attacks, and I stopped.
I would only smoke it very occasionally just because, like, I think actually I didn't, like, know how to inhale then.
Yeah.
So I was just one of those guys where I was like, it's wasted on me. It doesn't work. And it was probably I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But
it's complicated. Inhaling. It's not something you do many times every minute.
Well, if it's so easy, Tim, then why didn't President Bill Clinton know how to do it? And he was a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry if that makes me equal to being a Rhodes Scholar. I'll take it. But I think we were both lucky in that.
It's not the only way you're like former President Clinton.
I'm also quite the ladies' man. That reminded me. I got to show you this picture later of a Dolly Parton impersonator with a George Bush and Bill Clinton impersonator, and they're both checking out her boobs.
Okay.
It's pretty funny. Because at first glance, you think it's all the real them.
But the real them, if there was a picture of the three of them, which there might be, it wouldn't be out of character. There are pictures of those two guys ogling women.
Yeah.
All over the internet. Just look it up right now.
Tim, that's what makes you a degenerate. That's what I'm talking about.
Because I Google George W. Bush Olympics
checking out
beach volleyball. Do you remember those pictures that came out?
I think I do remember those. Yeah,
George W. Bush was when you're president, you can't be that much of a creep.
A little decorum.
Yeah.
You ask Secret Service to take some pictures for you to look at later or something.
Yeah,
or borrow their sunglasses.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, I need your sunglasses. Well, that's Bush. That's Clinton rather.
It's you kind of split the difference.
Hey, I need your sunglasses. Give me them sunglasses. I'll put them on so I can check out their butts.
Hey, String Bean.
Hey, String Bean, give me those sunglasses. I need to ogle these boobies. But anyway, I was gonna say, I think we were both lucky in college. That like we didn't smoke that often. So like we didn't really need to buy any weed, but we were around people who like very much wanted weed, that there was never a question of like, that guy's going to have weed or he's going to get weed later. And I'll just have a little bit of that, guys.
Yeah. As with all things in life, all intoxicants, I have a very low tolerance.
Yeah.
So all I need,
as with all intoxicants, you turn into a real annoying person nobody wants to be around.
That's probably true.
when you're on any of these things, even when you've had like too much caffeine or sugar.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, Tim, I think that we didn't ask how each other's weeks went.
It was fine. I went to the diner with my mom last week.
Oh yeah,
I told you about that.
One time I went to that diner after college, like the summer after college, with two friends. One that like grew up in Brooklyn. To college. Did I mention college? I say it was after college, but these were college friends. I went to college out of state.
You're wearing a shirt that says college on it, so I assume that you're always talking about college.
But one was like originally from Brooklyn and then it moved to Maryland. And then one was from Cleveland and then went to school at Maryland.
Where the Heart of Rock and Roll is still beating?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Or no, Cincinnati, I think it was.
No rock and roll there.
But anyway, we were like walking through that very same parking lot. And the guy from Cincinnati was like blown away because it was like a little late. And when we were walking, like when we got to the door, he was like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You didn't? Oh my God." And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Those two Italian guys in the parking lot were talking to each other. And then when we walked by, they stopped talking to each other. They didn't want us to hear what they were saying. Those were mob guys." And I was like, probably not. Like, might have been wannabe mob guys. Like,
also,
Long Island's lousy with that.
Maybe they just stopped talking because, like, this weirdo out of towner was just staring at them, being like, "Two Italians."
Wow, I didn't know two of them could be in the same place at the same time. Yeah, I mean, very likely. I was just thinking at the time, like, I don't know, I stopped talking when, like, strangers come walking by if I'm, like, talking with a friend in a parking lot. But yeah, a lot of shady stuff goes on in that parking lot.
Yeah. Italians talking to each other.
Italians talking to each other.
Teenagers buying
like $10 or $20 worth of weed.
Probably fake weed mixed with oregano or something.
There's a lot of necking going on in that parking lot.
There was no neck. You wouldn't go to the diner to neck.
You wouldn't go to the diner to neck after having a nice big Monte Cristo sandwich?
There was some necking in Long Island diners, Tom. I was part of the Long Island ska and indie rock scene in the 90s.
Right, so you saw your share of necking.
Sometimes I'd be inside enjoying disco fries after a show.
Mm-hmm.
And a member of the band, who was never me, would go out to the parking lot to neck with a girl.
Wow. Yeah. With a fan?
With a fan.
Wow.
Simpler times, Tom, the 90s.
That was also when they had a smoking room in that diner. That was awful. Like, I don't think the smoking room had any ventilation. It was just like a glass room where all the smoke stayed in.
Yeah.
And we were friends with some people who would smoke and who would insist, like, "No, we're going to sit at this." And it's like, what? No, I get smoking. I don't get why you would want to sit in a room full of smoke.
Right.
You can wait 5 minutes.
Very adult. No. You need to take a bite of a big sandwich or disco fries and a drag of the cigarette at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, what is this, 1950? We're going to switch between bites and drags?
I mean, I say it all the time, Tom. Recently as Ghostbusters, 1984.
Yeah.
Those guys were just walking around smoking cigarettes everywhere.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's, I think, what the world was like. And the time you're talking about is closer to Ghostbusters time than it is to modern
Way
times.
Closer, yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I walk around nowadays. If I go into a place with a drink, I'm like, are they going to yell at me for having a drink in here?
Like an alcoholic drink? Like
no,
Colt
just
45?
like a Coca-Cola or something.
But you're just a coward. You're just like, I don't want to get yelled at by the lady.
Well, it's because I'm always drinking something very...
I hope the proprietor of this establishment doesn't come out here and give me a stern talking to about their no beverage policy.
It's because I'm always walking around with something very sticky that I'm... No, I know what it was. I went into the library and I was like, they're probably not. I bet even the library hasn't relaxed this much. Although maybe they have, because the Brooklyn Library, they've got soda machines right inside the building. Yeah,
that's the decline.
But I was in our old hometown library this weekend.
I was the same day I went to the diner, Tom.
Yeah.
I then went to the library.
We just missed each other like two ships in the night.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tim.
What an exciting top of the show. And guess what? We have even more excitement. The Catholic Church.
Yeah, hopefully we've gotten rid of any of the old busybody church ladies that tune. Oh, I'll finally give podcasts a chance now that there's an episode entitled "The Old Pope."
Yeah.
Tim, this week we're talking about the old Pope, Benedict XVI.
Yeah. 16 Benedicts Arnold.
Benedicts.
Yeah.
Wow. How does we should like have we should have an agreement up top to not ask each other questions that obviously the other person doesn't have the answer to.
No. The name Benedict comes from the Latin word meaning the blessed, the blessed.
All right, I don't care about that. Where does 16 come from? Were there 15 other Pope Benedicts?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, of
course.
How
many popes have there been?
How do you think this works?
I mean, that's what I thought, but it's like, what are the odds? I haven't met one Benedict. Although I always think it's crazy that Doctor Strange is Benedict Cumberbatch and Benedict Wong, and Benedict Wong's character's name is Wong. It's got to be a very confusing set.
Nah, I don't know.
Somebody says Wong, he doesn't know if they're talking to him or his character.
Yeah.
Somebody says Benedict, they both turn around.
No, doesn't he go by Benny?
Does he?
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Maybe they both go by Benny Cum.
Benny Cum.
Tim, that sounds like the beginning of a sick joke.
Sounds like the beginning of a sick limerick. Sick meaning cool.
There
once was a man named Benedict.
There once was a man named Benny Cum. And so... Anyway,
now I
what?
Bleep that.
I didn't know he goes by Benny, but how do we know Benedict Wong doesn't go by Benny either?
I don't know that he goes
And even if
Benny
he doesn't, if I hear somebody say Tommy, I look, even though I don't usually go by Tommy.
Whenever you hear any kind of loud noise.
No, the problem is that I look whenever like a kid says mom or mommy because I think it's Tom or Tommy.
Oh, okay.
And I'm always like, huh, me? And then they start screaming and crying.
Me, your mom?
But all right. So how many popes have there been?
Oh, at least.
How many popes have there been? I mean, at least 16 that we know about. 260 popes.
Yeah, the Catholic Church has been around for a long time.
Sure has. Well, and it also seems like more often than not, they appoint somebody pope when they're already on death's door.
Yeah.
At least in modern history.
Yeah, I mean, how old was who's the new guy? The cool pope?
Pope Francis?
Pope Francis.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't like a recent American president old, right?
I think he might have been. Pope Francis age. Because he's 86, so he was like 76 when he became the Pope. Yeah. He was up there.
He's up there.
Yeah.
But you have to have a lifetime of...
right.
Praying the rosary and whatnot.
Well, you need like a lifetime of like convincing the other cardinals. Because they're the ones voting for the Pope.
A lot of politicking.
Yeah, a lot of. I guess there are no babies to kiss because none of these cardinals have babies. Just shaking hands with
There
them.
is oddly a lot of kissing of babies going on.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with winning the papal election. But anyway, this guy, the old Pope.
Passed away.
It's crazy that there's an old pope, but there's a current pope who's 86 years old, and he's not the old pope.
Right.
The old pope, I believe, was 95.
Wow.
Pope Benedict.
That's an old guy.
That's an old pope.
An old pope and just an old man.
Well, not anymore. Now he's a dead man.
Fair. He died on New Year's Eve, just like Betty White a year prior.
Oh, yeah, that's true, huh?
The old lady and the old pope have the same death anniversary.
Yeah. But he hadn't been pope for what, 10 years?
Yeah, Tom, you remember when he resigned?
Yeah.
Where we were?
No, I don't remember where we were. Oh, we were somewhere overseas, right?
We were in Ireland.
Oh, right.
Sitting at an Irish pub watching on TV every day. We were there for a few days. We were doing a show over there. Remember when we used to do shows in Dublin? That was fun. We should do that again. But we don't know anybody else in Dublin. We go to London. We know some people there now.
Right,
Scotland. I mean, not anymore, but we knew people at the time. Shout out to Kat. I don't think she listens anymore. Kat, if you're listening, email us the phrase that pays.
And what, she'll win a prize?
Yeah, she'll win a prize. So we would just go to a pub every night, and it was weird being it because
you say that like, oh, it's different now that we know people.
Yeah. Well, no, I just go to the hotel room and go to sleep.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the difference.
But we were watching what color is the smoke gonna be coming out of the Vatican.
I was gonna say I remember too, like everybody in this. Like, I think we somehow accidentally went to like an old man pub in Ireland, in Dublin.
I don't think there's anything else.
Well, yeah, I guess there's just always going to be old men at the pub. But there were just like a lot of old men, like legitimately very upset.
Yeah.
That Pope John Paul had died. Right? Is that...
What the hell are you talking about? This is when Benedict abdicated.
Oh, yeah. Was it? Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
2013.
Yeah, and they were just like very upset that he resigned.
Well, at the time, and I was excited at the time, and
well, you thought you were in the running for the new pope.
Well, I always got the Cardinal's ear. I'm always bending the Cardinal's ears. No, at the time, remember, it's like the Pope has never resigned in 600 years.
Yeah.
Something like a really cool story is going to come out.
Well,
like,
probably a not cool story.
There is intrigue here.
Yeah, there's something going on. Why?
And
he's
at the
resigning.
time, I was like, it's a matter of days before this is all revealed. It's like it's like a Da Vinci Code come to life.
Yeah. Why else would a spry 85-year-old man not want to do his job anymore?
That he got like 7 years earlier.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Like
yeah,
that
he hadn't been
whole,
Pope very long.
Yeah. And then nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, oh no, he just like didn't feel like being the most powerful church guy.
Well, kind of, because he was kind of like, he like found a loophole where he can still be real powerful within the church, but not really have to like do all the like busy work.
It just seems like if you're like spend your whole life trying to become president and then you resign a year in and you're just like, yeah, but I still get to keep the Secret Service detail. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that, because he would like contradict Pope Francis on stuff.
Really?
Like he still put out like his opinions about things.
Yeah, but they're the old Pope.
No, but a lot of people like the old Pope. Because
nobody liked this Nazi guy.
Nazis did.
I guess so. But then he died, just a week
a few
ago.
Days ago.
And now I'm like, well, surely all the stuff's going to come out. I don't think this stuff's ever going to come out.
Tim, well, we'll talk about it later. But the Vatican
need Robert Langdon himself to go in there and uncover this.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say. The Vatican's very good at keeping things a secret. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was, if when he resigned, there was some kind of like agreement of like, look, we'll bury this stuff deep. But like, if you remain Pope, people are going to keep digging on this and they're eventually going to find it. So like, if you want,
we should be the ones to keep digging and finding it.
That's what we're doing right now. I thought.
Is that why you got the haircut like Tom Hanks in the Da Vinci Code movie?
Yeah, that's why I grew my hair out, Tim, just for this podcast. No, I mean, and like a lot of the stuff, it's like reading about his like controversies. And like, I mean, I guess the big one is just, how much abuse happened on his watch and how much like hiding of abuse happened on his watch. But like, I don't know, in my opinion, it's like, that's okay, that's all the popes. Like, he's not the first guy to do that.
And like his reign as Pope was not like the first time he was affiliated with the church. Like he oversaw churches like
right. Yeah, he was a very powerful person within the church before that.
So I don't even think like, he became Pope in a post-Spotlight world or post-events that Spotlight.
Right, not the movie.
Okay. A post-Sinead O'Connor ripping up the picture of the previous Pope world. But I think people were like kind of had their eyes on, the church at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say that
before that.
Yeah,
like when he was like.
Well, I think it was like there was a ton of.
We're gonna get so much angry, not even by like devout Catholics. Just like, could you guys have just learned a little bit about how the Catholic Church works?
I think it was that he was Pope when there was like a lot of heat around that, when a lot of stuff finally boiled over and people were looking for people to blame for, shuffling around these priests and hiding all this stuff. And that understandably, that's, he was the leader of the church, and he was just kind of like, it's fine. Nothing really happened. It won't happen again. We promise.
Yeah.
And that kind of didn't fly.
But then what the big secret is when he made that promise?
What?
He's crossing his fingers.
What?
Under his frock.
Oh, is that why they wear the frocks?
Yeah. So
it makes it very easy.
Or sometimes he would pretend like he was stretching and hide his hand behind his big hat.
Yeah,
and cross his fingers
remember him stretching a lot.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was weird.
Well, you're that old, you gotta make sure the muscles are getting...
Yeah, but you would think he would do it before one of these, masses or whatever. Get it all out of his system. But it makes a lot of sense that he was just crossing his fingers. They
also sometimes keep crackers in the hat.
Well, that's just good sense.
Yeah.
You get hungry were they communion wafers or crackers?
They were crackers, but they were blessed as communion wafers. So they're like Ritz crackers. So they're buttery and delicious.
Ritz crackers. Yeah, a lot more delicious than communion wafers.
Yeah.
Those things are bland.
Right. Still becomes the body of Christ in you when you eat it.
That's not really the point, that they be something delicious. But my thing has always been, would it kill them to put a little salt on there or something, a little umami taste?
Well, my thing was like, look, this is going to be bland.
in there.
But then I get a big swig of the old wine, communal wine.
Yeah, and I get to down that old goblet of wine.
Of old folks' backwash.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, it's only the old people that drink the wine, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only way they can get it.
The only way they can get wine?
Some of these people, yeah. I don't know if you've taken a good hard look at these people.
It was the only way I could get wine when I was like 12, and I was still like, you know what? Not going to do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because also...
As a regular George W. Bush the first, or George H.W. Bush.
I'm going
to say, not going to.
Yeah, because, I don't know, when you're like a young teenager and like the idea of drinking first becomes attractive, it's still not the idea of drinking wine.
Yeah.
It's like the idea of like having a beer or like a shot of tequila, not having some wine at church, not getting lit at the, I mean, it is at least at the end of church. And you'd probably rather be drunk during the whole thing, right?
Yeah, so you can nod off.
Yeah. They
sing
probably,
the songs. They should get you drunk earlier
in the beginning.
So like
right when you walk in,
then everybody will be singing like, "This is the day the Lord has made," like very enthusiastically.
Right when you walk in, they should give you one of those big like a borderline novelty wine mom glasses.
Oh yeah, those are hilarious. Like you pour a whole bottle into
you fill a whole bottle in one glass. They should just hand you one of those on the way in. They charge a fee for it or whatever. I don't mind. It doesn't have to be good wine. In fact, I prefer it be bad wine. More money to go to the church. Watch attendance skyrocket.
Yeah. And then, play some Jimmy Buffett tunes too.
Tim, I've been saying it for years, but now more than ever, we should be in charge of the Catholic Church.
Tom, let's start at the beginning here.
Okay.
Joseph Ratzinger.
Yeah. Joey Rats.
Yeah. Popular for playing the role of Cliff Clavin on Cheers.
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah. So, I mean, I mean, have we considered that, Tom?
And he did all those voices in Toy Story and stuff, all the Pixar
every
movies.
single Pixar movie.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, storied career.
How does he find the time?
I mean, how does he find the time? He quit being Pope.
Well, yeah, it's a good point.
He had to do his role in Incredibles 2, and he's like, I can't.
At some point, God came to him and said, you got to decide. You're burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
And even though it's one of those big candles they bring out at Easter, it's still too much.
And he made the decision. He's like, I'm going to choose Pixar. I'm going to choose a Pixar cameo in every movie.
Yeah.
And God came to him a couple days later and said, you made the right choice.
Yeah.
My son.
I'm gonna bring in Pope Frank. He's gonna be the new guy.
Yeah. He's gonna like make you look real uncool.
Yeah. But a lot of like diehard churchos, they're still gonna love you, and they're gonna kind of consider you their
Pope.
Still? Yeah,
okay.
Because like he did a bunch of stuff. Like he was, even for a pope, pretty conservative. Like he relaxed. I guess maybe a previous pope had said at some point, like, all right, no more masses in Latin, and then this pope was like, you can do masses in Latin if you want. Even though obviously it's like, that's not going to win over new converts to church.
Yeah.
And it's, it's a step backwards. But he was all for like a lot of steps backwards, I think.
Very cool.
And they didn't like how Francis was more like, willing to say like condoms prevent HIV.
Right.
And, things that are like the most insanely controversial things you could imagine a pope ever saying. So like for a lot of people, they saw Francis as like, not my pope.
Right. Like, not a Hitler Youth, not for me.
Yeah, exactly. Seems like this guy's like a nice guy who maybe like enjoys his life. No, forget it.
Look, I don't know. Look, what does a pope's day-to-day look like? I mean, you got to go to church every day, I guess, right?
Didn't you wake up in church?
God, that seems like a nightmare.
I know.
So drafty.
Yeah, it's drafty, and there's always like organ music, kind of just sad in the background.
Yeah. Like weird smell. There's like always some sort of smokes coming out of some stuff.
Incense is happening.
Frankincense or something.
Frankincense and myrrh.
Yeah. Whatever that is, there's a lot of that happening. There's a thing called a tabernacle.
Yeah. A lot of people always like talking very quietly.
Yeah. An old lady like chastising you for doing something wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, are you even allowed, like, lady, like, you're not allowed to have a position of power here. Why are you the enforcer?
Yeah. Well, it's because, it helps the bottom line.
Yeah. But do they have a basketball court on the premises?
I think they do somewhere in the Vatican.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. Do you know? Is that why you asked that?
No, I'm just thinking about
then they probably
the church.
don't.
Like, does he play CYO basketball or anything?
Oh, yeah, because churches have like church leagues. I don't know about that. Like, my question was going to be like, do you think he has like a PS5?
The Pope?
Yeah, the Pope.
Not the old Pope.
But I'm saying the new Pope, the new young Pope.
I don't think he's into that.
Yeah, but do you think like maybe Sony sends him one just in case?
Does Sony send the Pope the new
PlayStation when it comes out? Just so like, hype. Just to get the hype going.
I'm sure somebody affiliated with the Vatican receives free goods.
Yeah, on behalf of the Pope.
Every single manufacturer. Right?
I don't see. That's my question. Like, does Sony send the Pope PS5 on the off chance? Do they send the
PS5 to the White House?
I don't know. Well, the White House, I think there's
12 Downing Street or whatever.
10.
No, next door. That's where all that's the Gen Z Prime Minister.
I think I think it's different with politicians because of like rules about accepting gifts.
Right.
So like they have to find like workarounds to get them a PlayStation.
Right.
But like the Vatican, I don't know. He could change the rules anytime, and there's no checks and balances. They can be like, hey, you accepted a PS5 retails for $500, and we have a rule that you can't accept gifts over $400.
Right.
But my question is, does Sony send him a PS5 on the off chance that he mentions it during a mass and it drives sales through the roof?
Yeah.
Or
that's what they need help. They need the Catholic Church to help get the word out about video games.
I was going to say, or did they just let the PlayStations 1 through 4 help them get the word out over the last 25 years or so?
It's a good question, and I appreciate that you asked it. I apologize I don't have the answer to it.
All right. Well,
maybe he does. I mean, I can't... They have televisions and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a modern like war room somewhere in there?
In
like
what
they have
way?
like telephones and stuff, right? Does the Pope have an iPhone? The Pope doesn't need an iPhone. George Clooney probably doesn't even have an iPhone.
No, you don't need an iPhone if you have assistants.
Yeah.
That are just kind of like keeping you informed about your text messages and your emails.
Right. If I was George Clooney, Tom, I'd be like, guess what? Nobody can send me. I don't have an email address.
Yeah. All right.
Like what
well, that's why you're not George Clooney. He's a charming guy. I bet
I bet George Clooney, if he does have an email address, it's a decoy. Everything just goes straight to trash.
And now I bet he's got an email address and he sends funny emails to people all the time.
Maybe. Because like he also
he's a prankster, Tim. Don't forget.
He is a prankster, but like his email address.
You always forget about that with George. You're always so just focused on being so handsome and charming. You forget he's also a bit of a prankster. Yeah, I bet like the Pope's assistant probably has like a top of the line iPhone.
Do you think George Clooney and the Pope both have Mac.com email addresses?
They might. Yeah, Mac.com.
I feel like,
or like
anytime
Hotmail.
I've ever been privy to a celeb's email,
yeah,
it's always like an old timey, because it's just like, oh yeah, like I got famous and powerful. Like I never had to like sign up for a Gmail account because like people are only trying to get in touch with me. I'm not trying to be like, oh, hello, this is George Clooney.
Right.
Hello, this is the young Pope.
Wait, I don't completely understand what they have old email addresses because they don't have to use email all that much?
Because they don't need any status. If I emailed you from an AOL email address, you'd be like, this guy's out of touch.
Right.
George Clooney, if he needs to email you, which believe me, he doesn't. But if he emails you, and it's an AOL address, what are you going to be like? Oh, George Clooney, you're out of touch.
What a loser!
Yeah, you're not. You're going to be like, oh, he's going to be like, yeah, I never needed to sign up for a
he's
new
OG.
thing.
He's got a. Yeah. I think also things have like come full circle where it's like if you have an AOL account still, that's cool.
Cool. Call my parents.
Well, maybe I'll email them. Yeah. All right. So, but you were asking about a war room. I don't know exactly what you mean.
You know,
I'm sure they have like, secure rooms.
I know I keep relating this to the White House and the presidency. Sorry, I just love the West Wing and I look at everything through the prism of the West Wing. But, like, you know how you look at the White House and you're like, that looks like an old building.
Yeah.
It's probably creaky and old. And then you get in and, there's some rooms that have,
made it look old even for the time. Like, they copied Roman architecture and stuff.
And you get inside and then there's some rooms. Like, some of it's, like, old and cramped, I think. And then some of them are just, like... New. It's like there's computers everywhere and, like
I don't think that's true.
What?
At least in the... top floor of the
White House.
Yeah,
they got
a room full of computers. The war room's downstairs, I believe.
I don't know about the freaking layout. I'm just saying somewhere in the there's like
in
high tech
facility.
Stuff,
yeah,
where
but
they
it's
go
downstairs. It's
where they
hidden.
where they went to watch the Bin Laden raid or something, right? Do you think there's a room like that in the Vatican?
I don't think so, because I don't think like the Pope needs to watch the Bin Laden-esque raid. I'm sure there are like rooms that are
Where is
secure.
he going to watch the raid when they murdered the two of us for this episode?
I mean, that's true. There might be some kind of room where he can watch like a small army of monks that come to slit our throats. Yeah. But Tim, that brings me to a good point, because there are an awful lot of secrets in the Vatican, as you alluded to earlier when you were talking about the various Dan Brown books.
Have you ever read the Da Vinci Code?
I've never read it. And I saw part of one of the movies on a TV recently where it was on in the background or something like that. And I remember seeing it and thinking, Tom Hanks looks insane. What movie is this? And then I realized what it was. And the whole thing seemed cuckoo to me.
Yeah. I one time got a TaskRabbit to do something. You know about TaskRabbit? Yeah.
Like a handyman or something like that?
Yeah.
You hired somebody to get something off a tall shelf for you?
So it needed to be done. No, it was I was working at a company, a startup, and I needed someone to like put together a whole bunch of desks.
Yeah, okay.
So I hired a TaskRabbit to do it. And it was like, what time would you like him to come? And like it had all these times that you could click.
Yeah.
And like I was like, oh, 12:30 seems good. I'll click 12:30. And he comes at 12:30. It's this guy, and he's just like, can I charge my phone? My phone died. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, yeah, I would have charged before I got here, but I was at a movie and I had to leave early to come here. I was like, okay. He's like, now I'll never know what happens at the end of Inferno, which is I think the second sequel to
yeah.
And he's like, that movie was crazy. And I was like, you could have stayed and watched the end of the movie. He's like, you hired a TaskRabbit. And I was like, yeah, I booked this like 3 days ago. Why did you go see a movie when you knew that like you couldn't watch the whole movie?
Or why did you like check during the movie to see if there were available jobs?
Yeah.
Or had he accepted the job?
He had accepted it.
Oh,
it was booked.
Yeah. So he had accepted it 3 days earlier.
3 days earlier.
And then went to a movie.
And then was
God, or
and then was like kind of pissed at me. It was kind of like, thanks for making me come and do this. It's like, dude, if you can go finish I don't care when you come do this.
Yeah.
I picked a time that you said you were available.
Yeah.
But
you gotta block out the times you're watching Inferno.
He put the desks together very well, very quickly.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Would recommend. Give him 5 stars. And it's like I left in a comment. Sorry, you had to leave the movie.
Did he mention anything else about the movie? It sounds like maybe he was really enjoying it if he was mad.
Yeah, it seemed like he maybe. Yeah, no, he didn't say anything, and I didn't know at the time. He's just like, oh, you know this movie Inferno? And I was like, yeah, but I didn't know what he's talking about.
You were just like, it sounds dangerous, so I don't want to sound uncool by saying I've never heard of it.
This guy seems pissed off. I'm not going to be like, now explain to me the movie. And then when he gets to the part where he had to leave, he's like,
he's going to be like, and then I don't know what happened.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. And then if I had known that it was a Da Vinci Code sequel, I might have had some follow-ups. I don't really know anything about the Da Vinci Code. The Vatican has secrets, you say?
The Vatican has lots of secrets. Tim, I looked up the top 5 secrets that the Vatican's holding, and it didn't even include my favorite secret, a bonus secret, the 6th secret, which, if it's true, would be the biggest secret of them all. Number 1, and this is like what Dan Brown focused on, the Vatican is hiding information about Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and the Holy Grail. So there are multiple ideas here that range from the Vatican is hiding proof that Jesus never existed.
Okay.
That there are claims that there's like letters between like Emperor Nero and somebody else and the Pope at the time I guess, saying to each other, yeah, I mean, he didn't exist, right? Yeah, I know. Stuff like that.
Why wouldn't they just get rid of that stuff?
It's historical documents. Or on the flip side, there's a definitive.
Jesus was 2 guys.
No,
and that's how he pulled that trick of coming back from the dead.
Oh, that would be pretty good. That's like the Prestige.
Yeah.
That there's this I don't believe that the Vatican has definitive proof that Jesus did exist and they're keeping that a secret.
Right.
And it's like, well, why would you keep that a secret? But like the Dan Brown stuff focuses on the idea that they're keeping it a secret that there's a bloodline from Jesus, that Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a baby,
right,
and that there are perhaps even current descendants of Jesus walking among us.
Clooney.
I mean, you think that if God made Jesus, as his only son, he'd probably make him infertile, right? Probably not be like, and don't get up to any funny business while you're down there.
No, everybody wants grandkids.
Yeah, it's true. Even God. The second one, and out of all,
where did you get this list?
I got this list from the internet.
Okay.
The second one, and now out of all these, Tim, this is the hardest one to believe. The Catholic Church is involved in a global pedophile ring.
Oh, no, I would never believe it.
No, come on, get real. The third one, the Catholic Church is hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life.
Tom, what fucking websites do you go on?
What do you mean, what websites do I go on? The websites that are asking the big questions.
But the websites you go to accuse everybody of covering up UFOs.
Well, maybe everybody is covering it up. But do you think... All right, so let's
I will say this. Mm-hmm. People accuse like the governments of the world of covering
hiding
things
UFOs.
And various things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm a firm believer of like all these conspiracy theories are bullshit because like these governments are clown shows once you dig a little in, and like somebody would let it slip, and like there's no actual, but like the one organization I would think could keep a secret or would really try to keep a secret is the Vatican, is the Catholic Church, and I think they're capable
the
of
one organization that would have no qualms with killing somebody or destroying their life to keep a secret.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to ask to like step back whether this is true or not. Do you think if the Catholic Church, say 500 years ago came into possession of an alien artifact or something like that, that they would be like, this kind of throws a wrench into the whole story we've been telling. Put it in the archives, hide it.
Why do you think it would necessarily throw a wrench into the...
Because the idea that like humans are descendant from God, are made in God's image, like we are God's perfect creature.
Right.
And if there are creatures equal to or above us.
Why would they be equal to her? There's lizards.
Well, if they got here and left some kind of artifact.
That just means that like birds can fly. That doesn't make them better than humans.
I'm not saying they flew here with the wings, Tim.
No, but what I'm saying is, how are you saying they're better, equal to or better than humans just because they developed better technology before we did? That's fine. Like, that doesn't make them...
I agree with you, but I don't know if the church would think that way. I think the
church needs to have a little freaking bit of self-esteem. Just be like, we need to make the argument that humans are still...
Well, I would say this, though. The argument would be, if we're God's perfect creature made in his image, why did he create these aliens that kind of look like us, but a little bit weird, 1 million years earlier than he created us, so that they're more advanced than us?
A different competing God did it.
Well, Tim, I don't think the Vatican likes that answer either. I don't think they want to come out and say.
But then what happened?
War of the Gods.
Was our God
killed the other god.
Killed the other god.
Yeah.
Because he's superior.
I don't think they like the idea of like our god killing other gods either.
What are you talking about? You know how many people?
Yeah,
how many
people, but not gods, because they like.
What
to
about
just,
a rival god?
They
and like,
no,
hey, just in case you
that.
think any other god pops up, he's gonna take care of them, toot sweet as well.
You'd be such a bad pope. You're introducing so many more problems than you're solving.
Be the coolest pope there was.
You don't come out and tell people, "Oh, I have the solution for that." There's another god. There's a rival god.
There was that our god freaking pummeled 6 feet deep.
So I guess he wasn't so much of a rival god.
Yeah.
No, because
that god didn't hold a candle to our god.
No, because the Catholic Church believes that God created everything.
Yeah, that we knew, and then he found out later. Oh, it turns out I didn't create everything. And guess what? I'm gonna freaking destroy this guy.
All right.
Horning in on my business.
So your claim is that the Vatican knows about alien technology. They shouldn't keep it a secret. They should just let everybody know there was another god, but our god beat the shit out of him. And he's not around.
Beat
him to death.
Beat him to death.
Killed him.
I don't know. He used magic too. I don't know.
He used a mixture of physical violence and magic to kill the other god.
You're making a lot of assumptions about the implications of extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, well, I don't think that necessarily conflicts with the teachings.
I don't think so nowadays, but I think in the past it would have been incredibly shocking.
Yeah, I mean, UFO shit's always going to be shocking.
Yeah, but I think like 500 years ago it would have really shook shit up. People would have been like, there is no God.
Yeah, but then you counter with, no, there were two gods, and now there's one God who's strong and powerful, and look at his muscles.
They got it. They got
glistening muscles.
They got to get somebody to like write that whole story, though, and I guess they
me or a guy like me, the 500 years ago version of me,
yeah,
who wouldn't have lived past 3 weeks.
I mean, it would be. I don't know. If I were the Pope, here's what I would say: first day, guess what we're coming out with? The newest testament. A whole new Bible. Think of the sales. Think of the revenue streams. And in there will be a little story about our God fighting another God.
Yeah.
Killing him with his bare hands.
And magic. Yeah.
And a little bit of magic. Number 4 conspiracy. The Catholic Church is involved in secret societies in the New World Order.
Probably. Yeah,
probably. That makes sense. Number 5, the Catholic Church is hiding the truth about ancient civilizations and the origins of humankind. So the idea here is that...
It's aliens again?
No. Well, yeah, a little bit on the second one. That either... there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that think a lot of like archaeological stuff and history kind of doesn't make sense. So there's this idea that maybe there was civilization a long time ago, like say 100,000 years ago, and maybe even a civilization similar to ours millions of years ago, because there's so much time where it's just like, what was happening then? Nothing. That a civilization may have risen and fallen, and there were only because like at one point, even scientists agree about this, like the human race got down to like a very small group, I think like 100 people or something.
Yeah.
And then during the Ice Age and came back from that. So the idea that something like that happened, almost everybody died, a few people survived, it was enough to eventually repopulate.
There's one thing that the Catholic Church is going to put a lot of stock in, is what those scientists are saying.
Well, but the idea here is that like there may be evidence that there were past civilizations, and the Catholic Church is like, like, I mean, that conflicts with our story. about Jesus and everything.
Suppressing information about like dinosaurs and stuff.
No, because even after dinosaurs went extinct, there was just so much time.
Right.
And there's so much time in human history where it's like, oh, yeah, for about 100,000 years, humans existed and we were just hunter-gatherers. Nobody thought to make a civilization or a society or to try farming or anything like that.
The thing about these conspiracy theories, like this one in particular, it's just so boring. I think the problem is like, yeah, you can suppress that. I don't think anybody's going to stay awake long enough to care if somebody like blows the lid off this.
No, I mean,
didn't you know there were thousands of years when hunter-gatherer? It's like, all right, yeah.
But
maybe.
What about like the idea of Atlantis? That there may have been like a futuristic society that figured out maybe shit that is even beyond where we are right now, but due to some kind of cataclysmic event, they were all killed and lost to the ages. A lot
of assumptions there.
But
John.
maybe in the Vatican, they've got some Atlantean iPhone, and they're like, oh, don't show this to anybody.
Or why don't they market it, manufacture
all the
it?
Networks are different nowadays. It wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and they're putting in the R&D to get
everything comes back to aliens and iPhones with you.
Well, and then that's the other speculation that they're hiding the origins of humankind, and that the origins of humankind might be alien related. Right. That it might be, you know, aliens.
Why would they have this information? Where
mess
would
around
they
with
get
monkeys. They would have the information because they've been around for so long. Who else has been around as long as the Catholic Church?
God.
That's true. But God, he's in cahoots with the Catholic Church. Ever since he beat up that other god, he
killed him, Tom.
Ever since he killed that other god, he and the Catholic Church have been thick as thieves. So, I mean, that's basically, there's a lot of just conjecture about that there are artifacts that would change our understanding of history and potentially even human history that the Vatican has. Because they've just been around for so long, they collected all this shit. And nowadays they're like, oh boy, keep that locked inside the safe inside the vault. Because if that got out and they found out this whole time we had, you know, Zeb's monkey to human transforming machine that he left on this planet by accident.
What are you talking about? This is the concern of yours that
it's not a concern. It's just an idea that's out there.
There's a monkey to human transformation machine that aliens left here, and the Vatican is keeping it under wraps.
Tim, I lied. There are two big things that they claim the Vatican has that I'll discuss after the plugs. If you like the show, you can find out more at tcgte.com. You can find our links to social media, Reddit, our Discord, all that stuff there.
Go to the Reddit. Go to the Discord. They're a lot of fun.
They are fun. You can follow us on, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Tom Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Tim.
Am I boring you? Tim, with mind-blowing information?
That last part was very boring.
I
think the listener will agree.
Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/complete guide. Tim, what are we covering this week on our Patreon episode?
It is a State of the Union for the / performance review for you.
A performance review for me? In what
Books
regard?
The podcast.
Okay.
We're going to take a holistic look at the show.
Mm-hmm.
What works, what doesn't work, who performs better on the show, who does more hard work, who's more engaging, and dive into some of the numbers behind it.
I don't like the idea that you are the one looking into all this stuff. You should have given me a heads up. Maybe I could have done some of this work too.
Give you a heads up.
Give me a heads up when you came over here tonight. Yeah.
I think you'll see, and I think the listener will see. It's a very fair assessment.
Patreon.com/complete guide to get that episode and all the past episodes as well. Tim, 3 things.
Oh God.
3 things that are claimed that the Vatican has. The first one, I'll start at
If this has anything to do with aliens or Apple products.
Least ridiculous to most ridiculous.
Oh, the AirPods were... Jesus had AirPods. If anybody found out about this.
Least ridiculous that they have the largest collection of pornography in the world.
Probably.
Right? Because they have like banned books and all that stuff, and they've been around long enough.
I don't know. In the world, like back when everything was maybe pre-digital, right?
Yeah. If you count like physical media.
Yeah. Bigger than Hideki Matsui.
Oh, did he have a big porn collection?
Yeah.
Is that what he spent all his money on?
Pretty much.
That's cool.
Yeah, they got like 70s skin mags and stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff. Number 2, Father Pellegrino Maria Arnetti claims, he's a priest, that he, along with a bunch of scientists like Wernher von Braun, the Russian scientist who like headed up our rocket program, and Fermi, the Fermi paradox guy, that they all work together on a device called the Chronovisor that is basically a television that can see through time.
Ah.
Seems
plausible.
And he has photographs that he claims are from, of course, what's a priest going to say? Oh, go and show me the crucifixion of Jesus. And he's got like pictures off a TV that he claims were taken of.
Where's the camera when this is happening?
Tim, it's all waves. It's all how this stuff works.
Yeah.
There's a need to be a camera.
I guess that is how this stuff works.
And number 3, Tim, perhaps the most controversial thing that is claimed to be locked up inside the Vatican. The devil himself.
All right. Well, now you're talking.
There are people that claim that at one point the Vatican did in fact capture the devil, and there are people that claim like the devil's in the Vatican running the whole show,
right?
And then there are also people that think like, they like the containment unit in Ghostbusters, the Vatican somehow captured the devil and they got him inside, I guess, like a room in the Vatican.
Wouldn't they want to be shouting about that?
Yeah, wouldn't they be like, look, we told you.
Yeah.
Here he is. Duh. Also, we got a...
And then you're... And you're like, nah, it's the Tasmanian devil. You dumb Pope.
Oh, the Pope? Yeah, I mean, I guess it would make sense that the Pope... Man, if like the Pope had TV specials like The Masked Magician and he just kind of went through the archives and showed you like, we got the devil, we got the Chronovisor, here's the world's largest collection of pornography. That would be ratings through the roof.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
I'd sign up for cable again.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view even. He could do it.
Vatican, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
New Pope, I know you're a loyal listener.
Yeah.
I might not know your name.
Francis.
But I think I'd recognize you if I saw a picture of you.
Wearing the whole Pope get up? Yeah, like, I would think you would.
You could have shown me any Pope.
I'd be like, that's the Pope.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'd be like, that's
Benedict
a cardinal.
The 8th, Anyway, start this TV show.
Tim,
I'm a friend.
To get a picture of Benedict VIII, you need a Chronovisor. And as we all know, that's locked up right next to the devil inside the Vatican.
See you next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.